Welcome back to What's Wrong with People, the podcast where we explore the strange, fascinating, occasionally horrifying world of human behavior at work, and maybe learn a little bit about ourselves along the way. I'm Nikki Espinosa. I've spent 30 years in human resources. That's right, 30 years sitting in conference rooms, listening to people explain why they are absolutely, unquestionably, undeniably right. Yes, I was always graceful. After all of this time, I've discovered something absolutely remarkable. I really do believe it's remarkable because the truth is nobody really thinks that they're the problem. Nobody, not one person has ever sat down across from me and said, Nikki, you know what? I want to really thank you for meeting with me today. I'd like to report that I am, in fact, the source of all dysfunction around here. Never happened. Hands down. Okay. Instead, what I hear things like, she's impossible. He's toxic. They never communicate. They don't respect me. They're out to get me. Everybody is the hero of their own story. And that's exactly what makes conflict so fascinating, because most workplace conflict isn't a battle between a good person and a bad person. It's a battle between two good people who both think they're the good person, and neither can understand why the other one can't see it. One of the funniest things about being human is that we all think that we're objective. We think we're observing reality. We are not. We are not. We are observing our version of reality. Now, I want you to imagine two people leave the same meeting and one says, hey, that was really productive. And the other says, that was an absolute disaster. Same meeting, right? One person says the boss was clear. The other one says the boss was passive aggressive. I don't understand. One says Mary is direct. The other says Mary is a bully. Same meeting, same boss, same Mary, but different realities. Human beings don't experience events. We experience interpretations. And then we become emotionally attached to those interpretations. That's where the trouble really starts. All the stories we tell ourselves about the emotional interpretation that we just made. That's ours. And this is why conflict feels so personal. Have you ever noticed how quickly a disagreement can become an identity crisis? You disagree with my idea, and suddenly I feel like you're rejecting me. You question my decision. I feel attacked. You offer me feedback, and my nervous system acts like we're being chased by bandits. The brain is kind of funny that way. Thousands of years ago, our survival depended on belonging. Being excluded from the tribe literally could mean death. But today, nobody is dying because Karen disagreed with your spreadsheet. Yet our brains still react as if social threats are physical threats. A criticism becomes danger. A disagreement becomes rejection. A misunderstanding becomes betrayal. And before long, we're not discussing a problem anymore. We're defending our identity. Let's talk about the workplace's favorite weapon, email. Nothing has destroyed more perfectly good relationships than reading emotional intent into a sentence written by someone who was just trying to answer emails before lunch. I want you to imagine receiving this. Please see my previous email. Okay, that's it. 4 words. Now be honest. How many different meanings can those 4 words have? Maybe it's, I just wanted to make sure you saw it, or I'm politely following up, or I'm really pissed off and I'm going to be vengeful about this. The problem is we almost always assume the worst. And why? Well, human beings are meaning-making machines. When information is missing, we're just going to fill in the blanks. And it's usually with our fears, not facts, fears. Every conflict has 2 heroes. This is one of the most important lessons I've learned in HR. Most conflicts don't involve 2 villains. They involve 2 heroes. Both people believe they're protecting something valuable. Respect, fairness, recognition. Sometimes it's quality standards. Sometimes it's the relationship or control or security. Both people can often explain exactly why they're upset, and both stories will make sense. And that's what drives everyone crazy. because we desperately want one side to be right and the other side to be wrong. But life is usually messier than that. Sometimes both people are right. Sometimes both people are wrong. Most of the time, both people are hurting and just trying to get through their day. Now, there's something I wish every leader understood about the argument that's underneath the argument, right? People almost never fight about what they're actually fighting about. The argument is rarely about the actual argument. It's the disagreement that's underneath it. All right. So if you have conflict about a deadline, the disagreement is about respect. I feel disrespected. You didn't honor that deadline, or you didn't honor my effort towards that deadline. Conflict around communication is a disagreement about trust. Can I trust you that you're going to tell me the things I need to know when I need to know them? What about a disagreement about a project? Well, that's about control. A disagreement about who got copied on an email. That one might be about who got copied on the email. I don't know. But usually there is something deeper underneath. A need, a fear, an insecurity, a story. And when we only argue about the surface issue, nothing actually gets resolved. And this is the biggest challenge I see facing teams right now. Nobody can get past the surface level. If you can't get past the surface level, all you're doing is treating symptoms. You're not getting to the root cause. And there's a danger here, because the biggest obstacle to healthy relationships isn't disagreement. It's certainty. It's a dangerous trap when you fall into this trap of certainty. Like, I have to have certainty. The moment we become completely convinced that we know another person's intention, that we know what's going to happen, that we understand everything, well, we stop being curious then. We stop listening. We stop learning. We stop asking questions. We become prosecutors. We're collecting evidence. We're building a case. We're preparing arguments. And here's the problem. The more certain you become, the less likely you are to discover something you don't know, to learn something new, which is really unfortunate because human beings are endlessly misunderstanding each other. There is a magic question. Over the years, I've found one question that changes everything. Ready? What else could be true? That's it. What else could be true? Maybe she's not ignoring you. Maybe she's overwhelmed. Maybe he isn't trying to control everything. Maybe he's terrified of failure. Maybe they aren't excluding you. Maybe they assumed you weren't interested. Or maybe you're right. But maybe you're missing something. And that tiny shift, it creates space. And space changes everything. It changes conversations. The strongest leaders that I've ever worked for or with have they share a common trait. They don't rush certainty. They become curious. They ask, what am I missing? Help me understand. Tell me more. What was your intention? How did you see it? Curiosity lowers defenses, and judgment raises them. If you want people to put their armor down and talk to you like a real person, stop judging them. The goal isn't to win. The goal is understanding, and understanding is what makes trust possible. So, what's wrong with people? Maybe nothing. Maybe we're all just walking around carrying invisible stories, trying to make sense of a complicated world, trying to protect ourselves, trying to be understood. The next time you're frustrated with someone, before you decide they're difficult, unreasonable, toxic, clueless, impossible, or just, insane, ask yourself, what else could be true? Because the moment you become curious instead of absolutely certain, relationships improve, teams improve, leadership improves, and honestly, life gets a whole lot easier. Thanks for joining me for another episode of What's Wrong with People. If you enjoyed today's conversation, subscribe, share it with a coworker who swears they're the reasonable one, and come back next week. We'll continue exploring the strange world of human behavior, workplace dysfunction, and what it really takes to work, lead, and live together a little more successfully. And until then, stay curious and remember, everybody thinks they're the reasonable one, including you.